What's up, my good people? Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show. This your boy CJ Moneyway. Today, I have guest, disabled U.S. Navy veteran, author, and award-winning journalist and photographer. I got my man Morrow on the show with me today. How you doing, man?
Shakespeare. Hello, CJ. You're very kind to have me. Mm.
I appreciate you coming on today, man. Appreciate you coming on. So, Chris, man, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and a little bit about your background.
Shakespeare. Well, I was like we were discussing before the show, like where I'm from. I'm from Houston, Texas. I was raised around there. I had a pretty rough childhood. I moved out of the when I moved out, I went to the Navy after high school, right after high school, and then Shakespeare. I developed Tourette's somewhere around that time, and Tourette's is really dictated a lot of my life and everyday life now.
Mhm.
Shakespeare. I mean, to the point where I can't like hold sharp objects anymore because I'll stab myself. It's quite gruesome. Shakespeare, um, and I say Shakespeare a lot, so that's what that is.
Mhm.
Um, that's a tick. Uh, I became an award-winning journalist around the age of 27. I started working as a reporter at a newspaper, and I've been a 911 dispatcher. I published two books, and including a kids book. So a third book, but it's a kids book. Shakespeare.
Oh,
Mm.
so Chris, so could you share with us about your debut book, Second Son, and about how it went viral on TikTok and led to so many copies that you sold, man. I thought that was very interesting.
Shakespeare. Yeah, actually, it was somewhat premeditated. So I knew that if I wanted to start marketing on using social media, it had to be more personable, and I needed to talk about my condition. So Shakespeare, for the first 3 weeks, I only had TikTok for 3 weeks before I went viral the first time. Um, the first time, so
Hmm.
I've gone viral 3 times
Oh, for
on
real?
TikTok. Yeah, in fact, the most recent one was last week. Was this earlier this week?
Wow, that's amazing, man. So I guess that'll lead me to my second question then.
Hmm.
So, how does it feel when you reach a million views and discover that people all around the globe, man, are interested in what you're talking about and what you're doing?
It's of course I think the most common answer you're gonna receive is the truth, the cliche that it's surreal. And it's a little bit enlightening about the way that people begin to treat you differently. I mean, just it could be from like people that you like just are interacting with socially and people that you interact with professionally. They treat you it's transformative in that sense. But it's also encouraging. It's the mostly it's encouraging. So you know that all of this that you're doing, Shakespeare, may not be for nothing.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, man, cause I I can't imagine hitting a million views. Heck, I can't even hit 1,000. So hitting a million, man, I know that got to be a great feeling, man. So
Mm,
congrats to you, man, on hitting it 3 times. And so
mm,
tell us, Chris, man, about some of the challenges that you faced growing up.
hmm. Shakespeare. Well, the way that I've described who my personality is has always been in contention. I think with who human beings are expected to be, which is this whole person that's sort of unassuming, um, and just trying to live their life as best they can. However, I'm a writer and therefore an artist, right? And so I have half of me trying to uh, live life and experiencing the spectrum of human suffering, of joy, of success, failure, all of that, and then the other half of my soul, the other half of my mind is an observer, trying to be impartial and trying to understand everything in a way that is can be so I can helpfully impart lessons about or philosophies that I've come to realize are true, or have some truth to them. And so I got bullied a lot as a kid. Ultimately, I got I got bullied a lot as a kid growing up, and I was delayed. I think a lot in terms of being mature um, and but that's also a consequence of the fact that I was really violently abused. My dad was very, very violent. In fact, the way that I describe it to try to relay like what kind of experience it was my dad would hurt himself hurting me. He would hit me so hard he would actually you know he would injure himself, like his shoulder, like he would throw his arm out, that sort
Mm,
of thing. Um, and he was an alcoholic, which I later became, and I had to like I've been sober for like 8 years now.
mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I actually did very poorly in school for most of my school years, but graduated I think in the bottom five. I think I was the fifth from the bottom in my class, and now
Joy
I don't think that anyone would, which is funny because my high school girlfriend was valedictorian of the next year.
hmm
She was a year behind me. She was a junior when I was a senior, and she was valedictorian, which is really funny.
Yeah. Opposites attract, huh?
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. I was very much like her, but I didn't have the space to be who I was
Uh-huh.
because of what was happening to me at home. Yeah. So Shakespeare, it was rough. Mm.
So so tell us about some of your experiences, man, that you had in the US Navy.
Oh man. Well, it depends on where you want to start. So like if I started in boot camp, it's really boring there.
Mm-hmm.
Boot camp's a lot more boring than it is like people think it's like a lot of there's a lot of yelling. I mean there was. Actually, I don't think there is anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
think what I learned is that they're not allowed to yell anymore. The kind of stuff that they were allowed to say when I was in
Back
the Navy,
then,
the stuff that they said to the stuff that I heard, RDCs, which is recruit division commanders, are kind of like drill sergeants, the Navy's equivalent of a drill sergeant. The stuff that they said to these recruits was the most diabolical, just awful, just demeaning stuff. But they can't do that anymore. They can't do that anymore, and that's probably for the better because the things they were saying were just really inappropriate, frankly. Um, it had nothing to do with bettering them as a person or bringing more honor or imparting what how important valor is and duty. None of that. It was stuff that really you wouldn't be able to say in a regular workplace for certain. You would certainly lose your job. Um, and so, but now, whenever I got into working, I worked at a hospital, so I was a Navy corpsman, so I was a medic. I went to corps school in Great Lakes, Illinois, which was right next to where I went to boot camp, and then I got myself stationed in Florida on purpose because I wanted to go to Florida
yeah.
because it was warm and I was sick of the cold. It's negative 40 degrees when the Great Lakes, in the wintertime, and that's the most miserable cold I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Hmm. Yeah, and then Shakespeare, and then I developed Tourette's, and I had my first manifestation of it, and I couldn't be in the Navy anymore.
mm,
Uh, and while I was on my way out, I lost a shipmate to suicide. Uh, there was a guy I worked with every day. He was a friend of mine. I mean, he was friends with everybody, like everyone in our department. But I worked with him like right next to him. Literally, our desks were, just a couple feet away from one another. And
mm.
yeah, he died one night. He died the December 27th, I think. He died the day before I returned from Christmas leave, and it was messed up. It's
Yeah, I
yeah.
can. Yeah, I can imagine that was a sad situation. A lot of stuff to take on.
Mhm.
So, so let's shift to something else, man. So,
Yeah.
share with us your experience about working on a film and on a film set and assisting in completing and helping the director's script, man. How was that feeling like?
It's great. I tell you, like, honestly, here's the thing. I didn't know who the guy was, the director. I didn't know who
Mm-hmm.
he was. And I had no idea that he was famous or anything where he's from in India. Like, he's famous so he's famous there. I did not know this until we were he was accepting an award for an alumni award for
Mm-hmm.
his success as a director. overseas, and he he was I met him one night at a bar, and he was telling me about how he was going to do this movie while he was here in America, and he wanted to just shoot a film, and he had the script already ready and stuff, and he had already hired actors and everything. And he told me what it was like. He told me the premise of the movie and the plot, and I was like, that I think this could be better. So he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you the script, and then you can tell me what you like, change what you think you is necessary, and then I'll take a look at it. He ended up really liking a lot of the stuff that I had changed. So
Hmm.
he brought me on as to be there the entire filming of the movie. And I didn't know he was famous until students from like Indian students were like running up to him and being like, oh my god," and because they knew who he was.
Uh-huh.
And I remember one night I was at home and I saw him doing a Facebook Live event, and he had like 300,000 something people watching him live. It was
Wow.
nuts. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" There's 300,000 people in India, which is over a billion people, I think, is a drop in the bucket, but still 300,000 people watching his live stream, which it just blew my mind. And I was like, oh my God. The way I'd been talking to this guy this whole time was not aligned with like who he is, like in terms of his popularity. It's like he's he's been working anyway. So it was a whole thing. It was really interesting. Working on a film set was really enlightening about how movies are made, and I was really it made me realize that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the work I think of a director, because I can't visualize the same way that these guys can. They can these these directors and guys that DPs, directors of photography, can look at one. They can film a scene and then film another scene and then know how they're going to go together. I can't do that. And so
Mm.
it was really for me, it was just all about the writing. It was like trying to create theater on set for a movie. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was like writing a play, but and it was so bizarre writing I remember the first scene that they filmed that I wrote, and having like a few dozen people coming together to like coordinate everything, to have the set, like to have the props and every and to arrange everything, and the lighting and the actors all memorizing the lines and stuff. And I'm like, I wrote this scene, and now they're gonna film it. They're gonna film it. What the
Yeah.
hell is this? It was so weird. It was so weird because it was so cool though at the same time.